Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan Nahar, and this is basically the 200 number part of the formula part. Here, basically, we are discussing that what actually the subscription plan is, what actually the user stories is, and Earth planet basically is one land and which is created on the base of certain user stories. So, assume that there are 7,000 user stories on the base of Earth planet has created. On the base of Earth planet has created. So, like this, we have taken one example of the Mumbai land, how Mumbai land was created, how seven friends user stories got generated. One friend basically died due to some reason. He was not able to get the marriage, and that user stories got generated. Like this, basically, there are many user stories. Assume that there are 7,000 user stories in this world, and the world is basically connecting to the universe. And like this, basically, in universe, assume that there are more than 30 crore user stories. Assume that. So Earth planet is one of the user stories. Earth planet is one of the user stories. So assume that currently entire universe color is blue. Assume that entire universe color is blue. So Earth planet is generating some user stories. Assume that one user story generated. That user story is one person went to UAE three time basically he went, but he basically not got the job. Then he went to two time to Bangalore. There also basically he was not able to get the job. Five times, six time Mumbai, he was not able to get the job. Two time Pune, he was not able to get the job. Then basically the energy department, that was basically the satellite groups, they tracked actually why he is not getting the job. Why he is basically not getting the job. Then basically they connected to the few departments basically who basically are into the reservation basically. Then basically they tracked that basically his information basically was getting some problem. Some international issue basically was connected by this of one of the groups, because when he came from Dubai, that time basically UAE government basically has told that he is basically some terrorist person, and he is not. You have to verify each and everything. Basically, how many people he know, how many people he is connected with, and how many people he have a relation, and basically what happened to his first marriage, because he is divorcee. So what actually happened to his first marriage, and this all basically they verified. UAE government, because UAE government was knowing that what actually happened to first marriage. UAE basically government was, that is basically the king's group. They basically might be knowing that what they actually know that what actually happened to first marriage. So then basically they tracked that he basically got married to one HIV/AIDS girl, and then basically the plan was like that he's not supposed to generate his next generation also. So for that basically his Nasbandi was also happened. So this basically user story got generated, and in this basically when user story got generated in universe, there was one Mars planet that basically attracted that energy. Mars planet, Mars, Mars, that basically attracted that energy, and the land got created from that energy. That HIV/AIDS and Nasbandi wala story basically. This is basically actually real story in Mumbai basically. One of the guy basically was there in Maharashtrian area basically. Maharashtra means Marathis area. So there basically this incidents was happened. I am not telling that all Marathis are like that, but this happened in Maharashtra. But that by default is going to connect to Maharashtrian only, Marathis only. So like this basically Mars planet basically connected that from Mumbai land the HIV/AIDS and Nasbandi was happened. So this was tracked by Mars. Just taking as an example, basically, it can be any of the state, because all state are one basically that everybody knows. Each and every states are connected with each other. So just see basically the user stories is going to generate. Then basically, this is basically assume that the stories of 2008, 2008. This is the user story. So user story generated the Mars basically attracted that that energies. Then basically the universe started communicating with each other. That this type of incidence has happened. This type of incidence has happened. One person basically is next generation is not going to happen. So just to see the user story connecting to the universe and how basically the universe is going to get effect due to Earth planet. So like this, the universe basically connected with that story, user story. Then basically, this is basically a real story actually. One of the person basically was in Mumbai and he basically planned one marriage by one of the group basically. That is basically one entire group basically. That basically group was also tracked in that Mars planet basically. Then basically that group basically the universe basically start interacting with each other. That this story, this person basically his next generation is not going to happen. This person's next generation is not going to happen. So suddenly they tracked that this person basically was very simple person, and he was basically connected with the lots of god also, and there by default basically the god was attacked. By default the god actually was attacked. That basically they tracked. But in this god basically area few bad people are also there. That also basically was tracked. So in this basically the bad people also attacked that person. So just see, because he basically already had HIV/AIDS and already had the Nasbandi. So his generation was already ended. So he will not have the generation now, right? He will not have the generation now. So basically, he thought that what actually he should do. What actually he should do. Then he thought lots of things. Then basically he thought that let the everything decide. Let the universe basically decide this. What actually Earth planet has done. Maharashtra basically land has done. So like this, basically the user story got generated like this. This is basically just taking as an example. So in this, the groups basically connected. The universe basically start interacting basically with each other. And currently the color is blue of the universe. Currently, it's not future basically. Current color is basically blue of the universe. So like this, the user story got generated. The universe planet basically start interacting with each other. His basically generation is ended. His generation is ended. He's not going to have the next generation. That basically universe it tracked, right? The Mars planet tracked. Mars planet basically tracked the universe. That is one user story. Now basically we will come to our planet. How the entire plan basically was done. And currently the universe color is blue. Now we will see that there are two types of languages. One is Sanskrit and another one is Tamil. So Sanskrit and Tamil, there are two languages currently existing in this world. One is Tamil language, which currently exists in this universe, and current color is blue in universe. Sanskrit basically exists in this world, and the universe color is blue. And Sanskrit color basically, sorry, Sanskrit language basically created lots of language, and Tamil language also basically created lots of language. So just see basically what are the user story going to generate. Now basically both basically are different. Both what to say both are totally different languages, but both are basically one. Why? Because they sit at some one place. If any any problem happens, if any problems happen, then they sit. This basically I'm talking about 2008 only. User story basically. They basically seated at one place and they basically start taking the decision. So what should we do? how basically we can control the world. Then basically they connected to one idea basically. That idea was we will introduce one word basically in this world, and that word is going to not going to connect to few words in this each and every language. That is basically the 59 languages. So just see basically the educated people are up to what level basically they are doing. The educate if you basically have the knowledge, then basically you can use the knowledge in the good level. You should basically is supposed to have the his next generation. So like this basically the user story got generated, and the word basically assumed that the word was kupichuki. Kupichuki. The word was kupichuki. This was basically the Sanskrit word, and in Tamil also basically the word was same, kupichupi. They basically told that we will not decide the what is the meaning of this, but they connected that this is the word kupichupi. What is that word? Kupichupi. So this was the word basically, Kupi Chupi. They told this word to the nuclear power company, energy company, that this is the word which basically you have to circulate in the whole world. So there was two languages basically on the base of two languages. The whole world language basically was created. So the world basically divided into two parts, but both are one. Both basically sits at the place and they do the plan. So both are one. So both basically connected with each other, and they told that this will be the word that is the kupi chupi. So this basically word basically was that kupi chupi, kupi chukki, whatever basically, but it was kupi chukki. So this basically word basically connected to each and every God word also basically. God word also basically was getting connected with this word basically. So few God word basically was not able to connect. So just see basically each and every God basically are also connected up to what level. So the word connected start interacting, and in this world basically 59 languages are there, and in 59 language, all 59 language basically each and every word basically thousand word basically were not able to connect with this kupi chupi word. 59 multiplied by 1000, so 59,000 basically more than 59,000. Because you can't say basically which language which group basically has created their hidden language also. You can't say, right? Because few languages basically are hidden language also, which basically not disclosing in the world. Basically they are their own language. Basically they speaks their own language. So 59,000 basically was the calculation, and that basically connected with the whole world words. And suddenly basically in 2013, just taking as an example basically, in 2013 basically few things basically happened. Few things basically happened due to that word basically was circulating, but that basically nobody knows that this word is basically circulated by nuclear power companies also. Nuclear power company knows this. They basically don't know the internal things, right? They are just playing with the chemicals and energies, but they don't know the decoding, right? That basically each and everything software companies are doing. The software company processed that word from one of the software which was basically from the Harvard University. From the assume that that was basically from one of the university. Basically we can't say the name of the university because university is only basically handling each and every words. So we are not disclosing the university name, but that was the software basically was designed by the university, but it was big university. Here basically we are not taking the name of the university. It was not the here basically. That's why basically we are not taking the name of the university, because whatever university they might be, it might be number one university in the software industry. So that basically everybody knows that who is which university is the number one in the software industry. If you basically search the internet basically, then you can easily able to track that which university is number one in English, in all the languages, and in the software industry. Because that kupi chupi basically word was processed by the software. That word was basically written in all the languages and that data got processed. So this was basically the hidden, basically you can say hidden, what to say, hidden execution basically, that basically nobody knows, very few people basically knows, because Tamil and Sanskrit language is very old language. That language is basically before the king's basically time, when the first king basically was in this world. That was basically, I think, Sir John some king basically. He basically started the journey of the kingdom. So before that basically this language is there, that is basically the Sanskrit and the Tamil language. That's why they done the hidden process basically, that nobody is supposed to know. Nobody is supposed to know. So in this basically, what are the things going to happen, that basically it's very dangerous, right? Because as the user story is getting, so basically I am not telling that 100% this is the story basically. This basically I'm just telling as a user story purpose basically, but the totally story might be different, but few things basically are connected. And this was basically told by one of the Bollywood person. User story basically got generated, and then basically the Sanskrit word basically was introduced in the market, that was kupi chupi. And the Tamil also word basically introduced in the market in the kupi chupi, because the data was already processed, but nobody knows that there is word like kupi chupi, right? Then basically what happened, one of the person basically was doing some puja part. He basically uh, he basically know that this word has to be spoken while basically we are doing the puja. That is basically the Brahmins basically do the puja, right? The puja basically started like this. In that, between the word basically, in this between the puja, that word basically was spoken. The word basically starts circulating with the each other, kupi chupi. Because that video, that puja was basically also recorded also. So video basically starts circulating, that become viral. What is kupi chupi? What is kupi chupi? The people basically asking in the forum also basically, what is kupi chupi? So just basically this also you have to track basically. Lots of people says that why the corona basically came. Lots of people says that what would be the reason basically, they connected to the HIV AIDS also. They connected to the that they told that basically I think that might be some HIV AIDS virus basically that got leaked, and suddenly basically the China got blamed. It might be totally different scenario basically, right? This also might be the reason, and this also might be the reason, but nobody knows the real reason, right? So like this, assume that the word basically got circulated, and suddenly basically that word basically connected to the environment in one city. Assume that that city was Abu Dhabi. Just taking as an example, that word basically connected to the Abu Dhabi. In that Abu Dhabi, basically one person got ill, but the UAE government basically, sorry, the Abu Dhabi government basically told that this basically is some totally different case basically. They have not taken the seriously the thing, the seriously the blood cells basically which was generated. That was kupi chupi. That was kupi chupi. That was the word. So basically they were not able to track that word. because sorry, they were not able to track that blood cells. Due to that, disease got generated. They ignored that, and the person basically died. Just taking as an example, in really basically the city might be totally different. Like this, the thing basically got generated, and few then basically the second person basically got disease in, assume that in Italy, because this type of disease, whenever basically new disease comes in the world, the near sea area basically country that gets effect fast, that get effect fast, and basically the sand area country. So first was basically sand, because water is in the top of the sand. That's why basically the sand area basically got attracted first. Then basically the water area, that was basically Italy. So just see the nature creation also. Just see the nature creation also. Before, because in top of the earth it's a universe, right? And the color currently is blue. So water area, that was basically Italy got attracted from that disease, and that gets it basically there also basically the Italian government also ignored that word, that was Kupi Chupi. They generated the blood cells, they got some report, and then basically they were not able to diagnose that disease. The disease basically when the blood cells was getting generated, that the question mark basically was coming. So like this, they also ignored the disease. So health department basically ignored each and everything, because they nobody wants to take the blame. Why basically I will tell, because Abu Dhabi government basically got that person, and that person basically got disease, and they basically thought that it might possible that our creation basically might have created some problem. That's why basically they ignored and done the hidden thing basically. They hided the thing basically, you can say. Italy basically also hided the thing. So one was sand, then basically the water comes, and then basically the construction department basically the powerful construction department area, that is the Germany. The most powerful construction in this world basically, if you say any powerful energy basically in this world of the construction, that is name given as a Germany. So Germany basically got the disease, because third attraction was of that disease was Germany. This is basically just user story, why basically the corona came into the world and why it was ignored by the certain groups. Now basically the uh, because this was connected with the Tamilians and Sanskrit language. So now basically the thing was basically uh, German. So German basically language got generated in the German city also. There basically one lady was basically attracted. Germany basically, in Germany one lady was attracted. In Germany one lady basically was attracted with that disease. Then basically that lady basically got disease, and there also basically they ignored the thing. They ignored that disease which was basically circulated with inside the body of the ladies. They basically given the special treat. Basically, they thought that they tracked that this is the German basically tracked. German basically tracked this is basically the new disease. So they basically isolated that woman into totally different area in some special ward basically, because they tracked this. They basically done some R&D, and then basically they connected that this is connected with some history. So then basically the German history was very bad actually. They know it was a Hitler rule basically, and what are the things basically happened in the Hitler rule, that basically everybody knows. First World War happened, Second World War happened. So this was connected with the First World War and Second World War. This word basically Kupi Chupi word was basically connected with the First World War and Second World War. So just see basically the things are basically connected. So that's why they also ignored, because they thought that basically that we want the peace life. We have already ignored the First World War and Second World War. We don't want any fight now. That's why basically they ignored that word, sorry, that blood cells, and that lady also died. That lady also died because they ignored the thing. But they tracked that this was connected with First World War and Second World War. And First World War and Second World War, basically everybody knows there was Hitler. And they tracked that also, that it was connected with Sanskrit and Tamil. Up to that level, basically they tracked it. That means German basically are connected directly with Tamilians and Sanskrit language. That is by default, because Germany is created with German, and entire country basically is created by one of the language, right? That basically everybody knows. 59 languages are there in this world, and each 59 languages has created 215 country, and Germany is also created from one of the countries. So basically experts knows that there is some problem basically has happened in this world. Kupi chupi, that was the word. So that word was basically spoken by one of the Tamilians and one of the Sanskrit group. So this is basically also one of the user story where basically the corona 100% might have connected. So basically I am not telling that 100% basically this is correct. I am not telling that 100% basically this was the reason of the corona. I am not telling directly that. So word basically was kupi chupi. The word was kupi chupi. So German basically also ignored that word because they want peace life. Everybody basically, if they are living his life with their children, with their children, with their next generation, which they are telling that our next generation has already happened. Few people says that our next generation has not happened. So their next generation was already happened, right? Their next generation was already happened. So they thought that basically we don't want this problem. So they also ignored this Kupi Chupi word. So who ignored? First, Abu Dhabi ignored. Second, Italian group ignored. Third, German ignored. So three country basically got ignored. Means they ignored the thing. Then basically the thing connected was computer industry. That was the software industry. So just see the verification basically has happened. So just to see the person basically who created the world, he's doing the verification. That also basically you can say, right? Like this, the verification is happening because first king was basically was Sir John. He basically before that basically the Sanskrit word is basically connected and Tamilians word are basically connected. So like this, the German also ignored that word because they thought that basically they want the peaceful life. They want their next generation, so they should have a peace life. Next generation, this everything basically they have done for next generation. They have done everything for next generation, which is going to happen. Sorry, already happened, and their next generation basically you can say. So for that basically they have happened. Done. So they also ignored the thing. Kupi chupi was the word. Kupi chupi was the word. Kupi chupi was the word. So German also ignored because that was connected with the Third World War. Sorry, Second World War, not Third World War basically. So Kupi chupi was the word, and that was basically connected with First World War and Second World War because they want the peace life and they want their next generation is supposed to generate, and that also peaceful life basically they want. That's why they also ignored. So first, the group basically they ignored was Abu Dhabi. Second, Italy. Third, Germany language. These three group basically ignored the Kupi Chupi word. Now basically the fourth country basically coming, that was USA. The fourth country basically which was just see basically how the things are connected. And Sanskrit and Tamil basically are connected with directly with India country. So just basically see how the India country is going to connect. That also we are going to see how basically India country is going to connect like this in this basically. Then basically the because whole world before government basically the king rule was there. King rule was there, and before king rule basically the Sanskrit language and Tamil language is connected. So like this the USA came into the picture because everybody knows that USA is the just in front of the world in the IT industry. That USA also know, right? It's not like that the USA does not know. And in IT industry, everybody knows that who is the number one. That is Bill Gates. And Bill Gates, half of the income basically is coming from the India only. Not half of the, but more than half. Just see basically how the groups basically ignored the thing, and the entire universe basically got suffer. Means some universe group also might be ready basically, right? Universe group also might be ready to tackle all the situation. Basically, they have created the Earth planet, right? Earth planet is created by universe only, so they also might be ready. Currently, the color is blue. Like this, basically, the USA came into the picture. USA basically here, basically in USA, one of the government person basically in the government sector, basically one uh, who takes the care of the gardens, who takes the care of the gardens basically of the assume that it was one government sector. In that government sector there was one garden, and that garden was basically taken care by one of the person. So that person basically got connected with that disease because fourth people basically was that person basically, that was garden person basically, and his blood cells basically was used in his blood cells basically was used in one of the software. His blood cells basically was used in one of the software in the any of the company. Basically we will not take the name of the company, but his blood cells basically was. So basically here the software industry basically who are working, they basically not got affected first basically who got affected, Abu Dhabi. Second was Italy. Third was German. And then basically the software industry came into the picture. But so in software industry, the blood cells basically was used to create the software. They got affected first. So here basically the chain connected here. From here the chains connected. Here the chains connected here. So like this, the person basically was taking care of the garden. He basically got connected. His blood cells basically was connected with one of the software blood cells. One of the software blood cells. So now basically his blood cells got connected, and he also got disease. There basically this was basically the three incidents basically happened that was tracked by the World Bank also. They basically tracked the World Bank basically tracked this, that three incidents has already happened. So World Bank also know that the three people died due to some unknown disease. So World Bank also tracked that. World Bank basically tracked first time only, basically when the Abu Dhabi, the person basically died. So basically, if any person dies, they basically know the exact reason. They basically find the exact reason at any cost. Basically, here they also ignored the thing. Why they ignored that also basically we will see it in later on. Why basically they ignored the thing that also we are going to see later on. Like this basically they also ignored. World Bank also ignored. So now basically that garden looking person basically got disease, and USA government basically tracked with the help of the software, with the help of the software, with the help of the one software basically which was diagnosing the blood cells. Like this, that person basically treated as a new disease, and they also basically given that person as a special disease, sorry, special treatment, and he basically shifted to the special room. They shifted to the special room. So here basically the USA health department, they tracked that the blood cells basically was newly connected, and the word was Kupi Chu. So like this, USA got the USA Health Department told that, yeah, basically this was the word. Sorry, they basically tracked that, yeah, this is basically connected with First World War, Second World War, and it was connected with Second World War, and it was connected with the Hitler group basically. Because First World War and Second World War basically by default everybody, small child also know basically in the books basically it's directly written in the books that Hitler due to Hitler basically started the Second World War. That basically everybody knows, right? So they also ignored because they thought that we also want the peace, and our next generation is also going to happen. Our next generation basically want peace life. In Hindi, basically that is called Shanti life. So they also ignore the thing because they want Shanti, peaceful life. They want Shanti and peaceful life. So they also ignore that newly blood cells generated. That person also died. That was basically the garden person basically who was looking of the garden. That person also basically died. Then basically fourth person basically was that particular garden person. First Abu Dhabi, second Italy, third German, because construction world is basically directly number one is Germany. That is in front of the world. In real world basically who is the number one, that we will be going to discuss, which power company and which nuclear power company and which energy company is that also we are going to discuss. That also basically, that basically satellite groups basically might have tracked long before basically. They might have tracked the entire city also, where basically that nuclear power company, energy company, and power company situated in the which city basically. They might have tracked long before basically. Then basically the garden looking person. Then basically the one of the software industry person basically got disease. He was basically very rich person basically, but he got disease. Why? Because he has designed all the software, and on the base of certain blood cells basically he has designed the all softwares. So here basically we are stopping, and this is basically the 200 number part, and in 200 basically we are this is basically 200, and in 201 basically we are going to discuss the part 2 of this story.